Now that was an amazing night's sleep. If you want to improve your sleep quality when you're sleeping outdoors, then I've got 5 rarely spoken about tips to share with you. Keep watching. Tip number 1. Sleeping bags keep you warm by trapping a layer of air around your body and warming it up. Specifically, the insulation of that sleeping bag is trapping the air around you. In most sleeping bags, that insulation works best when it is allowed to expand, when it is allowed to puff up, when it is allowed to fluff up. That's when the insulation works best. Therefore, first tip, when you're setting your camp up for the night, I would advise one of the first things that you do is to get your sleeping bag out, get it inside the bivvy bag, get it on top of the roll mat, whatever your setup is, but get your sleeping bag out, shake it up, place it down and allow that insulation to expand. Give that insulation the best possible chance of doing the best possible job for you when you finally get in it by giving the insulation a little bit of a head start. Tip number 2. Go to bed warm. What do I mean by that? Why would you go to bed cold? Well, let's just unpack this a little. Once you've rolled your sleeping bag out and it's there, sitting, ready for you to get into it, it will adjust to roughly the ambient air temperature. It will become at roughly the same temperature as the air around it. In most cases, that air is going to be cooler than your body temperature. The sleeping bag material will be cooler than your skin, your body temperature when you get into it. Therefore, that sleeping bag will, quite ironically, wick and take and rob some of the heat from your body in order to warm that material up around you. This is a common concept. Even when we get into bed at home on an evening, you know, the sheets usually feel cooler than we are and very quickly warm up. We've lost some of our heat to those sheets, to the sleeping bag, to warm it up. Therefore, a sleeping bag is actually, for a period of time, cooling us down. We probably don't want that when we're sleeping outside. Therefore, if you can raise your body temperature slightly before you get into the sleeping bag, you have a little bit of excess heat to waste that you can allow to be robbed by that sleeping bag material to warm it up. Now, I'm not talking about going for a 10-mile run. I'm not talking about doing a gym session. I'm not talking about anything that makes you sweat. That's quite important. What I'm talking about is just going for a walk, a brisk walk for a few minutes before you get into that sleeping bag. If it's dark and that's not a good idea, then just do some sit-ups or some press-ups or maybe some star jumps. Just enough where you start to feel you're warming up, you start to feel that body temperature rise. That's enough. You don't want to be getting out of breath. You definitely don't want to be getting sweaty, like I said, because if you sweat, then your body is wet. That moisture then transfers to the sleeping bag, to the insulation, and that insulation is not designed to work as well when it is wet. So you're just talking about going to bed warm or warmer than what you normally would to give your body that few extra pieces of heat to transfer over to the sleeping bag to warm it up. Go to bed warm, folks. Tip number 3. I love my Thermarest Neo Air insulating mat. It's a brilliant piece of kit. If you've not seen me pour my feelings out about this before, up in the top right hand corner of your screen about now, there is a link appearing where I do a 2-year plus review on this. Go and check that out if you've not seen that video before. I love this piece of kit. It does a wonderful, wonderful job of insulating me from the cold ground. But there is a really subtle, easily overcome downside to that. I found that when I blow this up to its maximum, when I blow this up and then lay on it, it's actually really, it's like laying on a plank, it's like laying on a slab of concrete. It's really, I find it really hard to sleep on. So over time, what I've discovered is put it into my bivvy bag and into my sleeping bag area fully inflated. Get myself into that sleeping bag. Once all of my weight is being compressed upon this naturally and evenly, then I reach for the nozzle and just let a little bit of air out very slowly and allow myself to sink into the mattress itself. Not too much, you clearly don't want to sink into it too much, otherwise there's literally nothing there between you and the ground other than a thin piece of material. So it's just a case of allowing yourself to sink into it, and you'll feel yourself sink into that, as the air's released, you'll feel yourself sink into the mattress. Close the nozzle off quickly, guarantees me a much better night's sleep than just fully inflating this and trying to sleep on it. As much as I'm in love with the romantic notion of waking up outdoors to the sun rising over the horizon and the sound of birdsong in the trees, in reality, at certain times of the year, that can be a real pain because the sun rises and the birds wake incredibly early in the morning. So tip number 4 is to make sure that you always pack, usually regardless of any time of the year, an eye mask and a set of foam earplugs, just to help you ward off that sunlight and ward off the bird song for that little bit longer. Of course, always remember to take them home, pop them back into the bedside drawer as part of your natural beauty regime. Oh, it's you. Don't worry. If you're staying on top of your hydration, then tip number 5 is going to be invaluable to you. No matter how much you go for a pee before you get into your sleeping bag, I can almost guarantee you're going to need to go again at some point during the night. Getting up out of your sleeping bag, getting partially dressed, putting a head torch on, walking some distance from your camp area to do your business, rewinding all of that to get back into your sleeping bag can just detract from valuable sleeping time. Therefore, the pee bottle is never far away. In fact, it's permanently packed, cleaned and disinfected. It's permanently packed inside my sleeping gear so that when I do go away, there's always a pee bottle inside it. Go for a screw cap, go for a thick, hard plastic bottle. Whatever you do, don't leave it lying around in the camp area next morning if you've got any friends that have a preference for apple juice. Tip number 5, carry a pee bottle with you. More tea, Vicar? If you're interested in taking a closer look at my sleeping system and some hacks that I've introduced to it over the years to make it work for me, possibly you, then check out the video that's appearing in this top corner of the screen right now for my sleeping system hacks. Now, if you'll excuse me, if you don't mind wandering somewhere else, I need to get up and get dressed and I'm in my birthday suit.